Namaskar. Welcome to Janashakti Network. A creator who remain relevant beyond the confines of their own work, transcending time and borders, is truly timeless. Rabindranath Tagore was such a visionary. Even on his deathbed, he worried deeply about the danger and threatening human civilization and sought solution to overcome them. His influence and relevance cannot be measured by today's artificial intelligence-driven standards. On his birth anniversary, let us remember this extraordinary thinker. In his essay, The Crisis of Civilization, written shortly before his last breath, Rabindranath Tagore expressed profound anxiety about the future of humanity. This was during the dark days of World War II, when the world trembled under the threat of Hitler and fascism. Even after 8 decades of his demise, while a global socio-political landscape have shifted dramatically, much of Tagore's philosophy and creativity remain strikingly relevant, especially in the context of modern India.
যুদ্ধের দামামা উঠল বেজে, ওদের ঘাড় হলো বাঁকা, চোখ হলো রাঙা, কিড়মিড় করতে লাগলো দাঁত। মানুষের কাঁচা মাংসে জমের ভোজ ভর্তি করতে বেরোলো দলে দলে। সবার আগে চলল দয়াময় বুদ্ধের মন্দিরে, তাঁর পবিত্র আশীর্বাদের আশায়।
Rabindranath Tagore's pen has blazed forth with intensity against war and fascism long before World War II. In 1914, as Europe plunged into conflict, he condemned the war during a prayer meeting at Shantiniketan.
সমস্ত ইউরোপে আজ এক মহাযুদ্ধের ঝড় উঠেছে। কতদিন ধরে গোপনে গোপনে এই ঝড়ের আয়োজন চলছিল। অনেক দিন থেকে আপনার মধ্যে আপনাকে যে মানুষ কঠিন করে বদ্ধ করেছে, আপনার জাতীয় অহমিকাকে প্রচণ্ড করে তুলেছে, তার সেই অবরুদ্ধতা আপনাকেই আপনি একদিন বিদীর্ণ করবেই করবে। মানুষের এই যে প্রচণ্ড শক্তি, এ বিধাতার দান। তিনি মানুষকে ব্রহ্মাস্ত্র দিয়েছেন এবং দিয়ে বলে দিয়েছেন, যদি তুমি একে কল্যাণের পক্ষে ব্যবহার করো তবেই ভালো, যদি পাপের পক্ষে ব্যবহার করো তবে ব্রহ্মাস্ত্র তোমার নিজের বুকেই বাজবে। আজ মানুষ মানুষকে পীড়ন করবার জন্য নিজের এই অমোঘ ব্রহ্মাস্ত্রকে ব্যবহার করেছে, তাই সে ব্রহ্মাস্ত্র আজ তারই বুকে বেজেছে। মানুষের বক্ষ বিদীর্ণ করে আজ রক্তের ধারা পৃথিবীতে প্রবাহিত হয়ে চলবে। আজ কে মানুষকে বাঁচাবে? এই পাপ, এই হিংসা মানুষকে আজ কি প্রচণ্ড মার মারবে, তাকে এর মার থেকে কে বাঁচাবে?
Europe is engulfed in a storm of war, prepared in secrecy over year. Nations blinded by ego and aggression now face the consequences of their own brutality. The divine power gifted to humanity, when misused for violence, becomes a weapon of self-destruction. By the 1920s, Rabindranath Tagore openly criticized Mussolini's fascist regime, calling out its suppression of free speech and the void of ethics. In a 1926 letter to his friend Charles Ferrer Andrews, he wrote, "Fascism, cruelty, forced obedience, and violent methods are a global concern. Western nations, by nurturing hyper-nationalism and imperialism, have endangered the world." He also supported international efforts to counter fascism. In 1927, he endorsed Henry Barbuse's appeal against fascism at the Brussels Conference, stating, "I stand with all who mourn the violent suppression of freedom, a blow to the very heart of the civilization." On 11 September 1930, the poet arrived in Moscow and remained in Russia until 25th September. He linked this journey to a pilgrimage in his work, Letters from Russia. The detail and accounts of Rabindranath's fortnight-long pilgrimage were recorded in Letters from Russia, published 80 years ago. During his visit, he constantly reflected on British-ruled India, while witnessing the revolutionary transformation unfolding in Russian life. Observing the Soviet land, he wrote, "The image that has taken shape in my mind has behind it the dark backdrop of India's misery." Just a few years earlier, the people of Russia and India shared the same faith, but now India lies shrunken, distressed, hungry, helpless, and abandoned, while in Russia they are engaged in a most astonishing experiment. A ceremonial sacrifice of historic proportion is underway. The Soviet land is engaged in massive efforts to ensure no one remains helpless or idle. These efforts extend not just among white Russian, but also among the semi-civilized nation of Central Asia. Having grown weary of flaunted wealth of America and the West, the poet was struck by the complete absence of vulgar opulence in Soviet Russia, which left him both astonished and delighted. They may lack monetary power, but they possess the strength of resolve. Just 13 years after the revolution, they are still battling adversity. Even while standing on the brink of starvation, selling their daily bread, they are striving to build factories. Rabindranath Tagore wrote this poem in December 1937 about Japanese invasion of China. Even earlier, he had written, "I read in a Japanese newspaper that Japanese soldiers went to worship at a Buddha temple to pray for success in war. They are shooting arrows of power at China, arrows of devotion at the Buddha." Rabindranath Tagore celebrated India's diversity, writing, "India cannot be defined by Hindu thoughts alone. Our literature, art, and architecture thrive on Hindu-Muslim synthesis. India is a gathering of cultures, where countless people have merged into one civilization."
রবীন্দ্রনাথের কথায় ভারতের কেবল হিন্দু চিত্তকে স্বীকার করলে চলবে না। ভারতবর্ষের সাহিত্য, শিল্পকলা, স্থপতিবিজ্ঞান প্রভৃতিতেও হিন্দু মুসলমানের সংমিশ্রণে বিচিত্র সৃষ্টি জেগে উঠেছে। তারই পরিচয়ে ভারতবর্ষীয়ের পূর্ণ পরিচয়।
This vision starkly contrasts with the RSS exclusionary ideology, which rejects this blended heritage. Rabindranath Tagore's Akla Cholore and Where the Mind is Without Fear championed fearlessness and unity, values at odds with today's divisive politics. His Jana explicitly includes all communities: Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, Jain, Parsi, Muslim, and Christian. Yet, the BJP RSS camp has repeatedly tried to sideline the anthem, objecting to references like Sindh, now in Pakistan, and claiming Rabindranath Tagore's inclusive ideals clash with their narrow, aggressive nationalist narratives. In 2017, an RSS-linked scholar even urged removing Rabindranath Tagore from textbooks, calling his ideas anti-national. Despite such attempts, Rabindranath Tagore's global stature remained unshaken. On his birth anniversary, the Nobel Prize Committee tweeted lines from his poem, where the mind is without fear, highlighting its timeless message. They also shared his English translation of Jana, a subtle nod to his enduring legacy. In today's India and the world, Rabindranath Tagore's call for unity, freedom, and cultural harmony resonates louder than ever. As he wrote, "Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, into the heaven of freedom, let my country awake." The rulers of today's India seems determined to ignore this vision. Yet Rabindranath Tagore's word remain a guiding light for those who believe in a pluralistic, fearless future. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with the latest incidents. Hit the bell icon to never miss an update. We will see you next time with more news that matters. Stay informed, stay safe.